Hello, I'm John Walter, instructor for Winthrop University's Writing 501, Writing for New Media for fall 2015. And in this video, I'm going to give you a brief overview of Slack using the web interface. So this is accessing Slack through a web browser. I will also create a short video showing you the desktop and laptop application and that you can also use to access Slack. So here's the Slack website, and this actually I'm going to show you assumes that you've already followed the initial link, created, kind of asked to join the class, had Slack then send you an email that asked you to confirm your email address and went back, created your username and your password, and then got into the class, and then it took you through the tutorial. So what I'm really going to be doing is sort of showing you a little about the things that are particular to our class itself. But I'm also going to show you a couple other things. So if you have it so Slack remembers who you are, you can just come to the Slack homepage right here and you can click sign in. And then what it will do, because if it remembers who you are, if it doesn't, it'll ask for some information to figure out who you are. But if it remembers who you are, it will tell you what teams you're already a member of. You can just click on our class team and it'll take you right into our class site. Another way of doing this, to getting directly to our class site, you can actually even just bookmark it. It's just actually bookmark our class site itself, or remember the URL for the class site, which is available both on the course website and in the syllabus. If you just go in that way, it'll take you, it'll add messages and it'll take you straight to Slack. So here is the Slack course site. Right now I'm using an account for someone by the name of Yokel. It's an account I created just to show you this tutorial, since my own account has everything sort of enabled because I'm the one who created it and everything like that. So I wanted to give you something that looks more like when you are joining. So what you can see here is we have channels. Now if you've seen this tutorial or if you've read the Getting Started with Slack, which I asked you to take a look at, you'll know that channels are where discussion basically happens in Slack. You also have direct messages. You can send private messages to members of the class. Slackbot itself is, you've met with the tutorial when you first sort of created your account and it brought you in. Slackbot is, sort of a in-program help program, and yes, it's a program within the program, and it's actually, the development team is led by a humanities major, and actually Slack itself is, the CEO and inventor of Slack is actually also a philosophy major and a history of science, went on to get a master's in that. And they spent a lot of effort to kind of create Slack, to give the Slackbot, to give it a bit of a personality, so that so if you ask it questions, you use keywords, it'll respond with things. And we can actually also program our own stuff in, so you might see some stuff, the Slackbot saying some weird things once in a while, based off of what people say. So you can talk to the Slackbot itself, or generally Slackbot sends you messages about things. And then there's the people of the class, and you can also start a private group if you want, with multiple people. So first I want to take a look at announcements. When you first join the class, just announcements and random are the two channels that you're actually a member of to begin with. And one of the things with announcements here, it starts off here. One of the things you'll see, we have a Google Calendar integration. I need to add the dates in for everything, but it will soon start telling us the dates. It's not going to give us it's not going to have everything, all the dates in, but like all the major due dates, things like that, they'll be in the Google Calendar, and Slack will automatically remind us of them. So if you click on this, if you see it says 19 more here, if you have plus any number more, means that there are channels that have been created that you're not a member of. So right now we have a total of 21 channels, 19 plus these two. You don't need to join them all right now. If you click on the whatever, the plus 19 more, you'll see that the channels that we've got biographies, general questions, resources, a Twitter feed. The course Twitter account will also, any tweet that comes from the course Twitter account will also show up in Slack in this channel. And then we have the participation, so for week 1 all the way through the last week of class. And then this tells us the channels we belong to. So eventually you're going to want to join all the participation channels, but you don't need to join them all today. To join a channel like biographies, where you actually want to join because it's for the first minor assignment, your biography, you can click over here on preview, and it'll give you preview here. You can click join channel, and boom, it takes you into the channel. So now we're a member of biographies. We can also click on general questions. General questions is a good one to join because questions, we actually already have some questions that have been asked and answered. So you want to take a look at that. Resources. This is where we can all share things we find with each other. Another really good channel to join. If you want to join the Twitter feed, you can do that. You definitely want to join week 1 participation because that is also where we're going to have the discussion for week 1. So you want to join that as well. And like I said, the other ones you can join later on. You can join as you need them, or you can join them all now. You can also search by channels by name. You can create your own channel, etc. So let's take a look here. Let's say we want to post something. I'm going to post something to random. Okay, so here we are in random. Now to post something, what you can do is just type in right here in this little box. I've got a cat actually pushing up against me, so my typing is not going so well. So, Jökull is it's an Old Norse name from one of my favorite characters from the Icelandic family saga. So, if I just type it in, hit return, and boom, it's posted. And up here, because I also have my other account, my John P. Walter account open, I also have desktop notifications. You don't have to have desktop notifications if you don't want them. My John P. Walter account has them, so anything I do over here, it pops up. And if someone does something in the class while I'm doing this tutorial, it will also pop up. So, one thing you'll note here is that we also have these little stars. Now, because Jökull is Jökull, he's going to actually star his own post, and I'll show you what that can. Basically, stars are a way of sort of bookmarking something. And let's say I also want to send a private actually not a private message, but a public message to someone. I'm going to send a public message to myself. So what it is, it's public, but it's directed to John P. Walter, and so it'll also notify me, John P. Walter, my account, that someone has sent a direct message to me. That's, a public but message that has identified me, as opposed to a private direct message. So that's the basic stuff to sort of communicate there. Other ways, you notice you just not have this text bar. You can type stuff in. There's emoticons you can add in. You can also click on the arrow, the plus sign here. You can upload files to Slack. And when you upload a file, it'll ask if you want to add a comment. You can add some text about the comment. You can create a text snippet. You can see more about that with the Getting Started with Slack and also the Help Center. And you can create a post. Posts are different than actual, these little kind of shorter ones. You can actually do a couple paragraphs worth of text in this little bar here. But a post, you can actually create something much longer. Posts also, if you click on it, will create a new, take you to another page. You can actually then enter in a title. That cat is laying between my arms now. So, one of the things about a post, again, not only can you add more text that you could in the small box, though you can add a couple paragraphs in that, so you can use these formatting, this markup for formatting. This basically is actually, well, it just says formatting guide. This markup here is what's known as, it's a markup language known as Markdown. We're actually going to be looking at Markdown next week. You're going to start learning Markdown. Markdown is a really useful markup language. Not only, a markup language basically means to sort of stylize something. So if you know the 2 asterisks before a word and after a word, or a whole sentence or whatever, we'll turn that into bold once it's formatted. So here I can do this. So we'll do and then I've done the italics there. So headers. And then I'll hit Save Draft so you can see what happens here. So this is the draft mode. So you can see that I've got this is bolded, this is not bold, is italicized, this is bigger, this is big, this is smaller. Then I can actually then publish this if I wanted to. I can go back and edit it if I wanted to. One thing you notice if I publish, you can actually publish to anywhere, any channel you belong to. So you want to make sure that you're actually, if you're making a post, it can go to any channel. If you're actually doing the earlier thing where you just type in the little box, it'll only go to the channel that you're in. So if I wanted, I'm going to want this to go to random, so I'm going to hit share for random, and it'll go to random. I'm going to take us back though to the edit, because one of the things I want to note here is this markdown. What's really useful at markdown, and again we'll learn about it next week, is that it's a very simple sort of markup language to format text. You can do markdown, and there's conversion programs. You can actually then have markdown, this sort of formatting, transform into HTML, into a PDF, into Microsoft Word, into EPUB for ebook formats. For LaTeX, for those of you who are in the sciences, mathematics, that's a kind of a word processing, coding, word processing kind of specialized programs for sort of mathematics and science and some equation-heavy sciences. As there's over 20 different types of formats that HTML, if I didn't say that, that Markdown can convert into, and very easily. And actually, you just have to type one document and then convert it to everything, rather than having to kind of format everything. So, like if I wanted to actually do something from plain text normally for HTML, I might have to make it bold. I might actually then have to go strong. That's basically how you do bold in HTML, but I could do Markdown, and it would make it bold if I wanted to in HTML, make it bold in Microsoft Word, make it bold in EPUB, whatever. I've got friends, couple friends who work for the video game industry. They actually are writers who actually write content, so like the text you see in some games. They write it. They just always write in Markdown. I've got friends who are editors of digital journals, programmers. They just write in Markdown these days, rather than messing with something like Microsoft Word, because they write it once and it can go to multiple formats without having to mess with it, except just tell it to convert to that. So we're going to learn Markdown. So you actually will know it, because it's pretty easy to use, and you can then format stuff here in Slack with it if you want to. So why it might be useful to do Markdown in Slack, as you can see here, this is my biography. I did my biography as a post, and I used Markdown. One of the things to note here is I've got hyperlinks. So I built in hyperlinks, and I built in some italicization. So I was able to do that using the Markdown, which is, to me, useful. So that's the basic kind of overview of, actually, yeah, you can't, so we'll go to random again. That's kind of the basic overview of how to sort of enter stuff into Slack generally. Some things to note. Right now there are 9 members in the team. If you want to learn about a particular channel, you can, like, what is the purpose of this channel? So we've got information about this channel is right there. And I can close that. You can do keyword search, so you can do text searches. If you click on the @ you'll see people who have sent specific messages. They use the @ stuff. If you click on the star, you can see posts that you've starred. So basically the posts that you've bookmarked. And if you click on this here, you can, because I said you can upload files. You can see all the files you've uploaded. You can see all the files uploaded to our team Slack site. You can see all the members of the team, and you can also get the help directory here. I'll show you that again in a second. If you come over here, you can set preferences for your account. So that's just this little pull-down menu there. So if you come back over here to the help, they'll give you this. And so it'll give you some, to give you some direct things. There's actually a little keyboard. You can get the keyboard shortcuts. Or you can get the See All Topics. If you click on See All Topics, it'll take you to the Slack Help Center here. And you can see there's even more articles. So each of those accounts and setting, messages, dealing with messages, channels and private groups, notifications, apps, I'll talk about that in a second, working with files, tools and customization, integrations, so there's extra tools like Twitter, the Google calendars. We can actually also have Google Hangouts. So if a group of you want to log into Slack, one of you can open up enter in a command, it'll open up a Google Hangout. You can all then join the Google Hangout and actually talk to each other using Google Hangouts, and so some stuff like that in the Help Center there. The Getting Started with Slack, which is linked off our week 1 syllabus schedule I asked you to look at. The Getting Started section you don't need because you've joined Slack a different way. However, you can start reading with channels. If you haven't looked at this yet, I would look for the rest of this document starting with channels. It'll kind of tell you some stuff above and beyond, different from the tutorial and different from what I'm telling you. And the last thing I'm going to point out right now is that Slack has, again, if you kind of went down to apps, you can see this here. You can click on this. This will give you this. Slack has not just the web interface, but you can also download standalone applications for iOS, for Android, for the Macintosh operating system, for Windows, and then a Chrome sort of shortcut for Linux if you happen to use Linux. So that's this video. If you have questions about Slack, you want to kind of learn more about Slack, you're having problems, feel free to ask. Obviously a great place to try to ask is actually in Slack itself. That's the general questions. Be a great place to ask questions about Slack. But if you are having trouble, you can't even get that far, feel free, please send me an email, as well as take a look at the actual Help Center. Again, to get to the Help Center, if you just come over here to this there, you go down to Help, it'll give you the Help Center. Take a look around. If you can't figure it out, ask us, ask me. So the last thing I'm going to say again, this is this video. I'm going to do another video. I'm going to show you actually the standalone app for the desktop that I use a lot rather than the web interface. And thank you very much.